Welcome back. Well, we have Jeff Parker in the house today who's going to talk to us about some things, new things, emails, all sorts of great stuff. So thank you for being with us.
Oh, great to be here, Lisa. Thank you.
All right, so let's start out with, you kind of want to dispel some information that's out there, some rumors. So let's go ahead and start with some emails that you guys have been receiving from our local residents.
And we have been getting a lot of emails and a lot of telephone calls about some information. But one, as I indicated last time, we sent a letter out via email and hard copy letter talking about the assessments and that the need for the assessments to continue. I think some of the individuals that saw that letter interpreted it as, and I was talking about that we would have some increased costs with regards to our janitorial services, thought that I meant that we were going to have increased assessments. I want to dispel that. We're not talking about increased assessments. We're talking about some operational costs in this interim that may go up. But we're also looking at cost savings in areas that we can balance those two out so that in the future we don't have any new costs for the village. But the assessments are going to stay the same. They're not going up. It's just that we're going to have to continue to collect them.
So maybe in the letter, where would they have misunderstood?
I think in the letter we talked about some increased costs that were occurring because of things like janitorial services and that kind of activity, new activities that we had because of the coronavirus. But those new increased costs that we're absorbing into our operation isn't a direct impact on the assessments. The assessments will stay the same. They're not going to change. And I want to make sure everybody hears that out there. The assessments we're just basically what the letter was really indicating is some people had called or written before and asked, are the assessments going to go away because of shutting down some of the facilities? And the answer is no, because as I indicated, we have a lot of cost centers that are still operating, and we need to make sure we have appropriate money for that.
Okay, perfect. Well, hopefully everybody will understand that your assessments are not going up at this time. So, okay, gate closures. Some people are concerned that if they have a heart attack or if they're super ill, what's going to happen if they live next to those gates that are closed?
So we indicated to you before that we were closing some gates as trying to be more efficient in controlling the access into the village. And one of those gates was gate 6, which is a prominent gate off of Del Calor. And that street's a busy street and a pretty busy gate. But we felt like with gate 5 and at different access points, it was one that we could look at closing. To answer the public's question or the residents' question is, public safety, i.e. fire, sheriffs, either one of those has access through those gates. They can get through those gates no matter if they're closed to the residents' usage.
Wonderful.
So they have the ability to get through those gates. So if it's a 911 call and they have to get there, they can get through those gates. And we'll continue to be able to get through those gates as long as they're in the closed situation.
Well, that's good to know. And we had done an interview with Station 22, and they showed me the charts, and they literally have for each access, like if you live near gate 6 or gate 5 or whatever it is, they have the quickest route and which gate to go through to get to that residence. So that's really good to know.
And we were in communication with them all along, and the city, when we looked at, and the county, when we looked at closing these gates, our security director made sure that we were talking about the right gates, the right communications. So they're aware of those, and we are aware that they can access those gates whenever they need to.
Perfect. Now, we have a lot of employees here for the village, and some people are a little concerned that, what's happened to them now that we have to do stay-at-home stuff. So tell me what's happening with them.
Well, we have two different categories of employees that once we started putting this emergency operation relative to coronavirus in place. We have what we call essential employees and then non-essential. Talk about the essential employees first. These are people who are critical to our continued operations, such as security, janitorial, resident services, our finance admin, our landscaping employees. Those people who are working either on site, but in most cases off-site, they're working telecommunication-wise. They are still working full-time. They're working 40 hours a week just as they were.
Got it.
That operation will continue to be operating that way until we hear otherwise from the state or the county order that they can come back to the office and work.
Right.
The landscaping people or those people that are out in the field, We have their protective gear that they have, and the social distancing requirements, where we used to van them sometimes to location. Now we're separating them out with regards to trends. So we're cognizant of those social distancing with our operations out there in the field, but these are, again, essential services that we are continuing to operate. Then we have non-essential services. And non-essential services were the areas where, basically following the state guidelines and following the Orange County Health, those are operations that we couldn't justify continuing to operate and wanting to create the social distancing. So those employees were basically sent home over this last 2-week period.
Right.
And in those cases, what we did was we got together with the board of directors and came up with a plan in which they would get 50% of leave of absence during that period of time, and the other 50% of their time they could allocate their sick leave or vacation. So they're fully paid during this 2-week period.
Okay.
The next challenge, though, for us really is, where do we go after April 3rd?
Yeah.
And once we hear from the president and once we hear from the state, are we going to have to continue to have those non-essential employees away from the operation here? If that's the case, then we'll probably be looking at a potential furlough system with those employees. They would be eligible for unemployment benefits, so that would help them out. They would be eligible to use their sick leave and vacation to augment that. And we want to look at a furlough, because what a furlough says is you're still part of the organization, and then we can bring you back once we can get fully operational again without a pure layoff situation.
All right, that's good.
So we're very cognizant of our employees, and we want to make sure that they're safe and healthy. That's number one. And number two, those that are working, we want to make sure they're safe and healthy. And then operational-wise, we want to continue to make sure the village is operating. So that's why we have segregated into essential and non-essential.
Okay, perfect. And then, of course, the stimulus package that was just approved yesterday is still being decided on today, and I'm assuming that you'll hear exactly how things will be worked out with all of the
And I'm hoping that maybe on Monday or Wednesday of next week, we can come back and we can talk about that stimulus package, how it will impact residents in the village as well as our operations in the village.
Right. Okay, perfect. Okay, good. So there are some closed areas that you are still sanitizing. What is the purpose of sanitizing those?
Well, what we're doing is we went through and did deep cleanings in the clubhouses. So those are operations that have been closed, going through and making sure that all of those operations are deep cleaned. That's what the first operation that we wanted to get the janitorial staff in doing. Not knowing when we'd open those babies up. If we can, great, we're ready to go. They've been sanitized, they're ready to go. Now, with regards to our operation areas, such as the community center where we still have some staff working, and over at the maintenance facility, we're doing ongoing sanitation activities with our janitorial group, so they're still operating there. And then what we did, because we wanted to make sure we could be as safe and proactive for the community, we stepped up our janitorial service for our laundry services. We used to do that on a monthly basis. Now we're doing it every 2 weeks to keep the sanitation and the janitorial services up to as far as we could from a financial position, and to keep everybody safe that's using those facilities.
No, and I think that's certainly appreciated, because, you know, I come in every day now, Monday through Friday, maybe the weekend, we'll have to see how things go. And I appreciate the fact that I don't have to worry about who's been touching my desk and things like that. So appreciated. All right, and then, boy, there's been a lot of hubbub and questions about testing, and the COVID-19 testing, you know, it's ramping up exponentially here, and here being California. But we're not going to do any testing of Laguna Woods residents. Why not?
Not at this point in time, and that's because of the directive from the state and Orange County Health. They only have the capability of testing people, and only want to test people who are showing signs of the COVID-19. So if you're showing signs, contact your doctor. Your doctor can write a prescription, and then that would set the process up for you getting tested. So we want you to get tested if you need it.
Right.
But basically, because of the limited tests and the limited capacity at the hospitals, they don't want to be testing everybody who's healthy. And so that's the reason why they have gone through the process that they've started with at this point in time.
Well, right, and we're going to bring you additional information in the coming days as to what hospitals are doing and how you can find out and things like that. But we don't have that information quite yet. But when we get it, we'll give it to you. Okay, so let's talk about OCHealthInfo.com. There's been a change, and I indicated this yesterday, that they're going to start recording numbers per city, but possibly not for our city. So tell me what it is they need to look for.
Well, the health department indicated that they changed their philosophy, I guess, and they are going to release numbers with regards to the communities where they've had cases, reported cases, or confirmed cases.
Okay.
That's going to be on their website starting today.
Okay.
We anticipate it coming out around 2 o'clock this afternoon, but it may be sooner. The interesting thing was when they indicated that to all of the local governments, they indicated that they weren't going to release information with regards to communities under 25,000, which Laguna Woods unfortunately is.
Okay.
The reason for that is, again, the HIPAA laws, and keeping the HIPAA laws had to do with information about individual patients and their illnesses, and the requirement by law that you have to protect those people.
Right.
So in this case, they thought 25,000 and under, they would do in a grouping. So it'll be interesting to see how they post it, if they say other and say Laguna Woods area, or how they're going to do that. We don't know exactly, but we do know in the other cities that are above 25, they'll be specific to that community.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait until 2 o'clock to see that, but we'll be looking for that information, and maybe next week we'll be able to dissect it.
And that's a good site for people to go to get that information. And if they have any follow-up questions, they can directly send emails to that organization.
Oh, good. Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you again for the update. Stay healthy this weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Right. And remember, when we come back, we are going to have a live, well, it was a live yesterday, remote with 3 residents that you will definitely recognize. We'll be right back after this.